Hello, students. This session is about the presentation of e-content development, e-learning, what, why, and how. This is your first session for the e-content development course. So, this outline for this session will tell you about the concepts learning in the digital age and understanding e-learning, common misconceptions, working definition, and the three components of e-learning. And it covers the attributes of e-learning and gives you an introduction about a learning object, that is a digital learning object, and is going to summary the session of today's. So the learning in the digital age will tell you, introduce the new terms, digital natives and digital immigrants, technophiles and technophobes. So the digital natives are their lives surrounded by digital technology. As you people assuming are the digital natives, because it's truism, technology is around you since you were born, then it is not new. So young people have an expectation that digital technology will have an underpinning role in their work and learning, and assuming that the people who are born with when the technology is around them are the digital natives. Sir, the digital immigrants. So I will be one of the example for digital immigrant. So I first saw computers in college and workplaces. For example, the floppy disk, a desktop, or the laptop. So where we acquired those skills, and we saw the computers only in the college. So and we are not then innate the skills or the computers or the technology that we were there when we were born, it were there. So digital natives and digital immigrants arise from the metaphor of digital technology as a land you are either born to or moved to. So assuming you people are born around the technology, so as the digital natives, and the people who moved to the technology, digital technology, or the digital immigrants who never migrate to the new technology at all, we can term them as the aliens. Those who don't want to get into the digital technology, those who don't want to move to the digital technology, are the aliens. So don't want to go more into that. So digital natives and digital immigrants is enough. Then coming to the concept in the learning in the digital age as technophiles and technophobes. So we live in a society exquisitely dependent on science and technology, in which hardly anyone knows anything about science and technology, where everyone has to agree. The technophile likes and enjoys technology and modern machines. The technophobes fear or dislike of advanced technology. Both people are there in the society, as well as the technophiles and technophobes. Since most of the majority of the population is from digital natives, so they are all technophiles. They like and enjoy the technology and the modern machines. So very few the digital immigrants, they are ready to move, and very few people fear or dislike of advanced technologies. They come under the technophobes. I call it as technophobia. So these are the concept terms where it's a basic understanding to learning in the digital age. So to make a learning in the digital age, how the perspective has to be the next question. So the answer is there. It has to be a learner centered learning. So we have to try to consider the impact of this new digital technology from the user's perspective. So, as the teaching learning process evolved, when it was evolved, the concept is the teacher centric and the teacher centered learning was there. And now, the digital era, the paradigm shift has happened and everything changed towards the learner centered learning, considering the impact of new technology from the user's perspective. All this learning moving towards the learner centered approach, learner centric approach, and learner centered learning. So then, if that is the thing, we have to get into the concept of e-learning. Before that, we should understand what is e-learning and some of the common misconceptions about e-learning are, as we said from the distance learning concept, distance education, loneliness of the long distance learner, self-study, e-learning lacking of interactions, and e-learning lacking of human dimensions which happen in a traditional ways. So information and communication technology here comes here comes into the role and the picture. Information and communication technology, which is going to demystify the concept or misconception that most of them had in their mind about e-learning and understanding e-learning. So information and communication technology out to support and improve learning experiences, not replace them with poor substitute. You see, as the common misconception that we had in the distance education, just like a self-study, interaction won't be there between the teacher and the student, and the human dimension is not there. Human dimension is not there in the, as like in the traditional ways. So here comes the role of information and communication technology, that is ICT, which improves the learning experiences. See again the learner centered learning approach of learning experience to improve the learning experience. And make a note that should not replace with poor substitute. So not replacing them with the poor substitute. So nobody would go on a bad course and come away saying, course doesn't work for me in this digital era, the learning, digital learning initiatives and the digital learning efforts that we put. They wanted to learn, but they did not like reading books. So as I am repeating, nobody would go on a bad course and come away saying, course doesn't work for me. Certain knowledge or limited skills can be gained by this e-learning. So they wanted to learn, but they did not like reading books, as it should not be just a replacement or substitute for this e-learning. And the next concept to understand learning is to come out with the read the definitions that has been given for e-learning. See, there are many working there are too many definitions of e-learning. Many are offered by the vendors since it's being an industry. So many are offered by the vendors and should be treated with some suspicions, because as they will be written to place the vendors offer at a central stage. So academic definitions provided by governmental and professional bodies are more authoritative and quite diverse, where we can take it for consideration, and sometimes more relevant to formal education setting than to a corporate context. So let me see the some of the definitions given by the academic bodies and government and professional bodies. One of the definition given by the European Union is e-learning is the European program in the field of ICT for education and training, in which promotes the inclusion of ICT in all learning systems and environments: formal, non formal, informal, school, higher and adult education and training. So, this definition given by the European Union initiatives little about ICT actually offers learning. So, it is promotes all learning systems and environments. So, it just tells little about the ICT which offers learning and speaks about the promoting the learning systems and environment. The another definition given by ASTD, the American Society for Training and Development, has given, e-learning covers a wide set of applications and process such as web-based learning, computer-based learning, virtual classrooms, and digital collaborations. It includes the delivery of content via internet, intranet or extranet, LAN or WAN, audio and video tape, satellite broadcast, interactive TV, and CD-ROM. So this definition, what we can derive from this definition is just a technology specific description who already know what it is. What are those virtual classrooms, computer based learning, web based learning, and the application and process, internet and extranet. So this ASTD definition more like a technology specific definition where we know about it, what it is. And the one more definition for our discussion is given by CIPD, Chartered Institute of Personal and Development: learning that is delivered, enabled or mediated using electronic technology for the explicit purpose of training in its organization. So this definition emphasizes more on organization. So the three definitions taken from European Union, American Society for Training Development, Chartered Institute of Personal and Development, stress more about the first, just about the learning initiatives about from the European Union, and the technology specific definition from the ASTD, and the organization emphasis from CIPD. So we will have a working definition like e-learning is an approach to learning and development. So from the three definitions, we arrive this for a better working definition. E-learning is an approach to learning and development, a collection of learning methods using digital technologies which enable, distribute, and enhance learning. So here, e-learning is an approach to learning and development which says emphasize the learning part and a collection of learning methods using digital technology, which tells about the technology specificality which requires for a better learning experience, and which enable, distribute, and enhance learning about the organization and the individual betterment. So keep it in mind, e-learning is an approach to learning and development, a collection of learning methods using digital technologies which enable, distribute, and enhance learning. Okay, so if this is the concept of e-learning or definition of e-learning, one should understand is then how this can be achieved. So the ultimate aim is to enable, distribute, and enhance learning using digital technologies which have a collection of learning methods. How this can be achieved? Then comes the role of components in e-learning. How this can be achieved? The stuff of e-learning, where we are going to stir it to come out with a good product. So to understand e-learning, one should know about the components which involved in e-learning that are going to be the stuff of real e-learning. So the technology, content, and learning design are the three components in e-learning. So good e-learning is therefore a combination of technology that works, meaningful content, and effective learning design. Keep it in mind, any e-content that you're going to develop should have a combination of technology where we are going to deliver. So as I mentioned in the e-learning working definition, to enhance, distribute the learning experience, enable, distribute, and enhance learning. So the technology which enable, that works, the meaningful content, and effective learning design. So these three components complement one another and need to be carefully combined. So the design needs to make the most of the content, and the technology needs to enable both the content and the design if it is to work. So for learning and development professional, accessing content and technology from other sources, the design component then becomes the most important. So these are the main three components that one should know before starting any e-learning projects: technology, content, and learning design. I'm repeating, good e-learning is therefore a combination of technology that works, meaningful content, and effective learning design. So with these components, understanding these components, let we move to know about the attributes that involved in e-learning. So the one of the major attribute is, as we mentioned in the definition, ICT, information and communication technology. So when you call the term technology, which keeps on changing, the change appears to be the only constant in the field of information and communication technologies, and what was uh, new 2 years before is not today as a new. So it's a change. There is a change. So it is really information and communication technology. It's really an exploration and experimentation for those who seek to venture into this new field, that is e-learning, which involves e-content development, which is a process and have principles, procedures, and requires practice. So what was 2 years new 2 years before is not new now. So it's the if such a the industry, the digital technology is facing such a rapid change in this field, it is getting increasingly difficult and complex. It is even more difficult when one tries to simplify the concepts and process and help academics and educators who have a effective educational delivery. So once you are not updated with the technology, definitely you will be outdated. So it keeps on exploring and experimenting with the technology to venture into this new field, that is e-learning, which involves the e-content development, which is so the e-content development is a process which have principles, procedures, and requires practice. Okay, so if we take this e-content development as a process, then we should study the principle, procedures, and the practice of this e-content development. So then coming going to this e-content, knowing about furthermore about the attributes of e-learning in the e-content. E-content is commonly referred to the elements for the intentional use of networked information and communication technology in teaching and learning. A number of other terms are also used to describe this mode of teaching and learning. They include online learning, virtual learning, distributed learning, network, and web-based learning. So the e-content plays a major role in this e-learning in these other terms like online, virtual, distributed, network, and web-based. So, so what are the different types of e-learning activities or the modalities that are possible in e-learning are listed here. Individualized, the term e-learning comprises a lot more than online learning, virtual learning, distributed learning. As the letter E in e-learning stands for the word electronic, so all that all has to agree. E-learning would incorporate all educational activities that are carried out by individuals or groups working online or offline and synchronously or asynchronously via network or standalone computers. To see these various types of modalities of e-learning activity, there are four: individualized self-paced e-learning online, individualized self-paced e-learning offline, group-based e-learning synchronously, group-based e-learning asynchronously. Let me take this. Individualized self-paced e-learning online refers to situations where an individual learner is accessing learning resources such as a database or course content online via an internet or intranet. So a typical example of this is a learner studying alone or conducting some research on the internet or a local network. So in coming to the second modality type of e-learning activity, individualized self-paced e-learning offline refers to situations where an individual learner is using learning resources such as database or a computer assisted learning package offline. So that is while not connected to internet or intranet. So an example of this is a learner working alone of a order by a CD or DVD, which is individualized self-paced e-learning offline. The group-based e-learning synchronously refers to group-based e-learning synchronously refers to situation where groups of learners are working together in real time via internet or internet. For example, this is a group-based which happened synchronously. It may include text-based conferencing and one or two way audio and video conferencing. The example includes learners engaged in a real-time chat or audio video conferencing, how it is happening in a real-time Google Meet classroom. So group-based e-learning synchronously, our real-time Google Meet classrooms are the perfect examples where the groups learning synchronously, that is in a real-time conferencing. The fourth modality or the type of e-learning activity is the group-based e-learning asynchronously refers to situations where groups of learners are working over internet or intranet where exchanges among participants occurs with a time delay. That is not in real time. For example, the content has been recorded with the e-learning elements that we are going to discuss in the later sessions. The typical example of this kind of activity include online discussions via emailing list. This is a basic example, and text-based conferencing within learning management system. So the group-based activity is going to happen asynchronously. Is going to be the another modality of e-learning activity. So these are the four modalities of any e-learning activity can perform. So from out of this, understanding the e-learning, understanding the components involved in e-learning and the types of modalities of e-learning, just the reflections what we got is just ask the questions regarding to these attributes of e-learning among yourself. Articulate the learning and teaching needs of your subject. Take any subject, just articulate the learning and teaching needs of your subject. Does it? That is one of the reflections. And the second question, to what extent and how is e-learning technology being utilized to meet these learning and teaching needs in your subject? Just answer for this question. And finally, if these needs are not being adequately met currently with the use of technology, why is it so? Just keep these three things in mind while before starting up any subject to be developed for any e-content. Then moving next, the attribute, the important one of the attributes of e-learning. The first one is the modality, and the second, flexibility that information and communication technologies offer. So, a key attribute of information and communication technology is its ability to enable flexible access to information and resources. Flexible access refers to access and use of information and resources at a time, place, and pace that is suitable and convenient to individual learners rather than the teacher or the educational organization. See here, this emphasizes the learner centric approach, learner centered learning. Flexibility refers to the use of information and resources at a time, place, and pace that is suitable and convenient to individual learners rather than the teacher. So, the concept of distance education was founded on the principle of flexible access. So, printed study materials allow distance learners a great deal of freedom from time, place, and pace of study. It had its limitations. For one thing, non-printed subject matter content and simulations could not easily be represented in print form. But in e-learning, now the distance overcoming the distance education, it has been overcome. So the access to information and communication technology changed all that as it offered a range of possibilities for capturing and delivering all types of subject matter content to learners and teachers in distributed educational settings. So, electronic access to hypermedia and multimedia based resources are also one of the attribute of e-learning because information and communication technology enables and captures the storage of information in various types including print, audio and video. Typically these educational resources could include hyperlinked material using this multimedia based resources and using this hypermedia. So I am repeating the flexibility, the modality as one of the attribute where one has to understand, one should know before studying the e-content development. The modalities, four modalities: individualized, self-paced online, individualized, self-paced offline, group-based synchronous, and group-based asynchronous. Then the flexibility that an ICT can afford for access of the resources and the access to hypermedia and multimedia resources. So once after knowing the modality with this different activities where e-learning performs and the flexibility and the hypermedia resources, the reflections that you have comes to your mind then ask questions is what promise do these attributes and capabilities of information and communication technology hold for your subject needs? Just reconsider, just recalling the attributes of e-learning with what we have seen in the previous slides, that ask a question. What promise to do these attributes and capabilities of information and communications technology hold for your subject needs? This is only another the fourth question that you have to ask as a e-content developer. The next, if the small example of a learning object, this is going to be the part of our e-content development. So we'll see what is a learning object and what is a digital learning object. A learning object is any item that has the potential to promote learning. As such, a printed book, a journal article, or a newspaper report is a learning object. So we found some sort of potentiality, some sort of material, some sort of content definitely promotes learning. So a digital learning object is an any electronic resource that has the potential to promote learning. So it's an electronic resource that has a potential to promote learning. Typically, these include scripts, images, multimedia modules in digital format. They are often developed as discrete entities so that they can be reused by multiple users and in a range of educational settings. Here, this is more important to know more about, learn more about digital learning object. So, if we are clear what is the learning objects, any material or any item that has the potential to promote learning, and the digital learning object is just these things in an as an electronic resources. And what are the different electronic resources? Scripts, images, and multimedia modules in the digital format. Then what are the characteristics for a digital learning object? They are they're developed as a discrete entities so that they can be reused by multiple users in a range of educational settings. So adapting definitions from the Wisconsin Online Resource Center by Robert J. Begg suggests that learning objects have the following key characteristics. So these are the key characteristics for any learning object that promotes, that should have some potentiality that to promote learning. So learning objects are a new way of thinking about learning content. Learning objects are much smaller units of learning, typically ranging from 2 minutes to 15 minutes of any, as I said, no script, images, videos, graphics, animations of any multimedia resources, which are the attributes of e-learning. So learning objects are self-contained or reusable, can be aggregated or tagged with metadata. Self-contained means each learning object can be taken independently. Reusable means a single learning object may be used in multiple contexts for multiple purposes. It can be aggregated. The learning digital learning object can be aggregated, means can be grouped into larger collections of content, including traditional course structures tagged with metadata. Every learning object has a descriptive information, allowing it to be easily found by a search. So this you will be knowing in the latter sessions when you started using developing the e-content development, using it in a platform. You will be understanding the metadata and how it can be aggregated, reusable, and self-contained. Then moving to what the metadata will tell us for any digital learning object is the educational objective has to be mentioned there, the list of skills that are required for a learner before viewing the learning object, and the topic, which topic you are going to present, represented in the taxonomy, the topic the learning object is going to instructing, interactive with the interaction model of the learning object, and the technology requirements for the view the learning objects. This is about the metadata, and more than this, this is more important for a know understand about the digital learning object. The points to remember: a learning object is any item that has the potential to promote learning. A digital learning object is any electronic resource that has the potential to promote learning. The ideal learning objects are those that are discrete, interoperable, and context free so that they can be reused in a variety of educational settings. So, what I am mentioning is just a digital learning about the digital learning objects. Many varieties and many attributes are there in a learning e-learning modality of operation. So here just pointing out only the about the digital learning object. In later classes we will see other modes of e-learning delivery also. For ease of use, learning objects are identified, organized, and located with the help of metadata. Critical issues and cataloging and retrieving of learning objects include peer review, intellectual property rights, and their use is tenure rate for the creator. So this is just about the digital learning objects, where we started from the concept of e-learning, the digital age to e-learning, the modalities, attributes, and an example of digital learning object. So let me summarize what we have seen in today's session. We started with the digital age of learning in the digital age by the natives and digital natives and digital immigrants, and they explaining the technophiles and technophobes. Then how a learning has to be in the digital age, the perspective of learning has to be in the digital age as learner centered learning, and the only way, the role played by the information and communication technology which supports and improves the learning experiences in the learning digital age by possibly by the e-learning. So we have come across few definitions given by the academic and professional bodies, and from that we have called out an working definition to work on e-learning and e-content development. So good e-learning is a combination of the technology that works meaningful content and the effective learning design by understanding the components that involved in e-learning. So to understand e-learning, not only the definitions, the components that involves in e-learning. So to ICT, the definition given, which where the point where we have to remember is to enable, distribute, and enhance learning. So the components of e-learning: technology, content, and learning design. Good e-learning is the combination of technology that works, meaningful content, and effective learning design, and the modalities, different types of e-learning activities that are possible in this in a area are the individualized self-paced online, individualized self-paced offline, group-based synchronously and group-based asynchronously, and the flexibility and the electronic access to multimedia-based materials. And we have taken a small concept of a learning object, there is a digital learning objects, and what are the different characteristics for developing a digital learning object, and what role of metadata that plays in developing the digital learning object. So this is a very fundamental session for e-content development to just give an idea about e-learning, the basics and the concept of e-content development. Thank you.